I think we're all here now. We're using configuration. So let's begin on this session is Vincent Pallotti's vision of the human person. And so we're looking at that. Lord, we thank you for bringing us together, for the fellowship over the meal, and just getting to know each other, having time to listen, share, and be together. Bless us, Lord, as we begin this session today. We ask this through Christ our Lord.
Amen.
So, Vincent's vision of the human person. Vincent asked himself, he often, after communion, he put these three questions to himself. First one was, who are you? My God, who are you? Who am I before you? What are you calling me to be and to do? Those three questions. So every at Eucharist will be in his thanksgiving. I do that too, so who are you, my God? Who are you? Who am I before you? And what are you calling me to be and to do? So, my God, who are you? Just take that one. Vincent knew this God as a God of infinite love and mercy, infinite in all his attributes. So it just meant for this God, a God who creates out of love, absolute, unselfish love, who wishes all his creatures to come to their fullest potential as sons and daughters of God, a God who fashions us in the image of his Son in order to lead us into the depths of God's inner life as Trinity. A God who made us and everything from the billions of galaxies to the smallest grain of sand. A God who loves us and keeps us in the palm of our hand. This tremendous God who created us. He made us, he loves us, and he keeps us. Julian of Norwich had that. She had the image of a hazelnut in one of her visions. And looking at that, seeing that in God. So who am I before you is the other question. So there's this tremendous God, and who am I before you? The first tenet for Vincent, we are created in the image of God. And Vincent was totally awestruck by the fact that God created him and all human beings in God's own image. So to take time just to grasp, he made us in his own image. And this is how Vincent put it, abbreviated. My soul has been created in your image. It was not painted, not made of wood, but of a living, rational and spiritual substance, created by and representing you, my God, in your essence, in your divine persons, and in all your perfections and attributes. So say, we can't see God, but he's made us in his own image, in this substance.
And likeness.
Right?
And likeness.
Yeah, but it's the same. But it's the same reality, image and likeness. Image is actually a stamp. You know, the Greeks had that. You have a stamp. Look at the image on the stamp. There's a stamp made in our own image. But it broke the mold once it made us. We are totally different after that. So just that, my God, my soul has been created in your image. It was not painted, not made of wood, but of a living, rational and spiritual substance. That's the human person. Created by and representing you, my God, in your essence, in your divine persons, and in all your perfections and attributes. So it's like, this God, what's he doing? You know, he's creating me in his image, and his divine attributes are infinite, immense. And seeing that, this God working on him. And Vincent then, creating God's image, includes representing the Trinity, which Pallotti reverenced in every person. It's not just Jesus, you saw the Trinity, but also Jesus led him into that mystery. Vincent from an early age strove to become a saint, to sell everything to gain the pearl of great price. And he wrote, destroy me and make my life your life. So it's a destructuring of his self, but to become more and more like Christ. It's not a losing of himself. Destroy me and make me more and more, make your life my life. But in 1826, I mean, that's a constant refrain in his prayers. So, but in 1826, there's a shift from Pallotti's doing to undergoing. Like doing is my effort to get there. I want to be a saint, do all of this. And there's a shift in 1826 where there's an undergoing. In other words, it's letting God work in him. There's an inner surrender. And as Pope Francis says, we become fully human when we become more than human. When we let God bring us beyond ourselves in order to attain the fullest truth of our being. So we become fully human when we become more than human. When we let God bring us beyond ourselves in order to attain the fullest truth of our being. I think that's a tremendous thing from Pope Francis in paragraph 8 in Evangelii Gaudium, the joy of the gospel. You should read that encyclical. It's a real blueprint and plan for us, for the church. Although we hear constantly Vincent speaking of himself as the worst sinner because his inability to respond to this God of infinite love. But by 1832, in his graced experience of his espousals to Mary, he calls himself a prodigy of God's infinite mercy, comparing what happened to him with what happened to Mary. So it's seeing something's really happening to him. It's the birth of Jesus in him. And also in 1835, he sees God's calling him to found the UAC as the fruit of God's mercy. So he's got this sense of, I'm a sinner, but God's mercy is tremendous, overpowers all of that in me and makes me a prodigy of God's infinite mercy. So it's really extraordinary. Pope St. John Paul II and Pope Francis tell us it's not simply religion, but the very reality of our humanity that's under threat in today's secular society. It's not just religion, it's the very basic nature of our humanity. We must value the human and guard the image of man, woman, for it is the image of God. For in dispensing with God, we lose the value and meaning of what life, our human life, is finally all about. So get rid of God, then people don't know where they are. They've lost that inner dimension that's part of who we are. The human person can be understood and his vocation defined only in relation to God, his creator. We're made in the image of a God of infinite love and mercy. And Vincent further saw this God as a being in love, totally, absolutely in love with us, pouring himself out in creation and redemption. A God who sought Vincent and us to love him in return with infinite love. And that's the tension in Vincent from an early age. Is how can I respond to this God of infinite love with infinite love? An impossible task without God's grace. And he tells us we are God's beloved. He made us in love. So he loved us, made us in. So individually, each one of us are God's beloved, this sense. So a second tenet for Vincent, that we are sinners redeemed. A picture emerges from Vincent's writings which mirrors in a uniquely personal way the biblical drama of salvation from creation to the fall to recreation in Christ. And he places the human person made in the image of God within the two poles of the Genesis, rebellion of nature, and the divinizing of the universe in Christ. So it's reading Paul's stuff and seeing, he's almost seeing himself as a pivot in this whole nature. God's working in him, but he's working in everyone else. But in this tremendous sense, as somehow I'm there, but the Lord's divinizing not just me, but the whole of creation, and taking me from this rebellion. He places the human person, made in the image of God, within the two poles of the Genesis rebellion of nature and the divinizing of the universe in Christ. Sin was a reality for Vincent. It really was. He knew the ravage of sin in the human person, how sin delays and distorts the openness for growth implanted and engraved in people's hearts. So you saw that, it's not just sin. It's somehow, I lose something of me in that sin. And God, when he comes to redeem, is a restoration and a deeper reality. Sin is an evil, the gravity of which is only understood by God. It is a rebellion against God and a choice of the creature over and against the Creator. So I've made creatures more important than the Creator. And yet God is all. And yet I've put creatures as more important than you. Vincent considered sin most of all as a failure to love God and as a lack of correspondence to God's love. And that's one of his sins, incorrespondenza. I can't really respond. And I'm sinful because I can't respond in that sense. And ingratitude to God's love and mercy, yet amazingly, the living image of God, obscured by sin, still remains a divine image. So you could say this image, almost defaced if you like, still retains the divine image in order that's the source of our renewal. So let's look at these slides for a moment. 15. My God, for me to know who I am before you, it would be necessary for me to know and comprehend the infinite malice of sin because it offends you. Who am I if in being such a sinner as I am, you think always of me and love me with infinite love? And though forsaken and rejected by us sinners, God gave us his eternal divine Son incarnate, not only as our Redeemer, but as our firstborn brother. He's the first of many brothers and sisters. And this is this pivotal relationship Vincent has with Jesus. In so doing, he visibly rekindled in us the faith in that intimate, real and close supernatural kinship by which we obtain the right to become children of God, heir of God and co-heirs of Jesus Christ. That's Pallotti. Can we go back to some that went before, the 15, 16, and the other slide? Slides 13 to 14.
Yeah, those were the last two. Those were just the last two, 13 and 14.
No others there.
There was some before that.
Yeah, go before.
So
No, that's the same. Yeah, that's the families, I think.
Families.
Yeah. Well, the reality was, God in creating us, created us in relationship. So in other words, we can't really stand outside that relationship, because by virtue of creation, we are in relationship to this God of infinite love. So we can't step out of it. He's always there. But not only in relationship, but he wants to be a relationship of love with each one. He wants to create us in his own image. But really could go on. Was stand, loved, called forth. So, just final. We are sinners redeemed. And we become a miracle of mercy in the same way that Mary became a miracle of grace. Jesus healed the image wounded by Adam's disobedience and endowed it with the gift of sanctifying grace. And Jesus broke the bondage of sin. He He consecrated us to become a new spiritual creature. And redemption is an individual act, just as creation is. So Vincent's emphasis on man, image of God and sinner redeemed, brought optimism to his ministry. It granted sinners not just the possibility, but the certainty of quick and perfect contrition and conversion. Because Pallotti was often called to people that were really anti when they were dying, and they called Pallotti. Out of the 11 issues, he converted 9 of them. He came here away to really, this soul is important to God. So, tremendous. The prodigy of man's creation into the image of God and the richness of his redemption are key tenets for Vincent Pallotti's spirituality. The two, the creation and image of God and the richness of his redemption and mercy. Those two things are there going with us. Redeemed because we're loved. So, the yearning for God. Our hearts were made for you, O God, and cannot rest until they rest in you, Augustine. My God, because of who I am and because of who you are, I'm compelled to say, leave me, Lord, for I'm a sinful man, but come, Lord, do not delay, because I cannot stay a moment without you. The yearning, that desire in Vincent for God. So the last question, what are you calling me to be and to do? Renewed as an image of God's love and mercy, what are we called to be? And to Pallotti was saying, be an apostle of love, moved by the same love that moved God. Be sent to share the mission of Jesus. Do justice, have a holy cheerfulness, be generous. A person who takes his or her creation in the image and likeness of God seriously will try to be one, a person of perseverance, a person of unity who brings people together, a person of detachment, able to let someone's better, hand it over to them. Not in what we get out of it, a person of holiness, a person of faith and confidence in God, a person of prayer, a person of humility, a seeker of perfection. So those are some of the virtues, if you like, that Pallotti wanted to instill in us. Just to say, to be an apostle of love, sent to share the mission of Jesus, do justice, have a real sense of what's just and needs to be done, have a holy cheerfulness. He said, we want to attract people to Jesus if we're sour and glum, and Francis is saying the same thing. If we take seriously our creation, our dignity, then we need to be a person of perseverance. We persevere. We unify. We are willing to let others take the lead in the limelight. We're not in it for what we get out of it. A person of holiness. A person of faith and confidence in God. A person in prayer. A person of humility. A seeker of perfection. So often you go to people, have confidence in God, and then there'll be a healing takes place there. When you knew that God's saving the person, he said, let the person go to God. So there's a real sense of reading souls. So a young fellow, he said to one, go to confession. He died that night. So the sense of going through the streets, we divert to follow where people were and finding in the flats there's someone here who's dying and getting to that person, to be there with them. You saw that with James Salvati in that film, where he came along the street and James Salvati's rushing out to get someone, a priest for his daughter, Camilla, who's dying. He said, go back up, be with her. Your daughter is well. How do you know she's well? I see she's dying. So that sense of being able to read the situation, be led by the Spirit, and to do God's will. So this is what we ask as we come now to Justin, who's going to lead us in prayer.